Hey everyone, my name is Asia. I'm with College Vine, and before we get started talking about your college essays today, I just want to take a moment to remind you about our free essay services. So, first, if you want to get a free review of your essay, you can head on over here and submit your essay. You'll get detailed inline edits, and you'll get your essay back in a return time of about 3 to 8 hours, maybe even less. And you can also improve your own writing skills by reviewing another student's essay right here. So a student will submit their essay, you'll provide feedback and send it back to them. And if you're looking for some more help on your essays, some guidance, you can head on over to our essay prompts and guides. So in our essay prompts and guides, you'll find a list of all the schools that you're applying to and how to write the essays. Head on over to collegevine.com to sign up and get started with all our free essay services today.
So here to break down what ApplyTexas is, it's a wide-spanning application that allows you to apply to more than 150 four-year colleges in Texas. It can be used to apply to both public and private schools, including UT Austin, Southern Methodist, Texas A&M, Baylor, TCU, and UT Dallas. And of course, there's a lot of other ones in here, right? Now, it's also important to note that you can't just apply to these schools on ApplyTexas. You can also apply through the Common App or the Coalition App. And so sometimes you might have to make a more kind of prudent decision. So if you're only applying to one Texas school and you've already launched the Common App, you've already filled out your profile to apply to out-of-state schools, it might just be wise to use the Common App. Just apply to the Texas school that you want to with the Common App. But say you're applying to other schools in Texas, and a lot of them, might as well use the ApplyTexas application because there's a lot of similar essays that you can use to apply to the same Texas schools. So if you guys want the more nuances of that, feel free to ask questions or clarification on that kind of point. Let me know. But that being said, like ApplyTexas isn't the only way to apply to the Texas schools. You can do it on Common App or Coalition App. It's really just about what'll make your life easier at the end of the day. The essay requirements do vary by college for ApplyTexas, and you'll definitely find that even across the other platforms like Common App or Coalition App. But what makes it unique in ApplyTexas is that there's only a couple common essay types, and those essay types vary between colleges, but essentially you'll be writing 3 or 4 of the same essays that you can send to multiple schools. So for example, UT Austin requires you to submit at least the topic A essay, 500 to 700 words, and 3 short answer responses. They also want additional major specific materials requirements for art history, architecture, nursing, and social work programs. Oh, I didn't even explain the terminology. So topic A essay, right? That's one essay prompt, I would say. There's also a topic B and a topic C essay, and we'll break that down in a little bit. Okay, at Southern Methodist, for example, they want a topic A essay, also B is optional, and a recommended word count of 250 to 650 words. And if you're applying for Bachelor of Fine Arts, you must have an audition or portfolio, which is pretty standard across a lot of universities. Texas A&M only submit topic A. Additional short answers for applicants to the College of Engineering. If you're applying outside of engineering, you don't have to submit anything extra. There's also unspecified word count for both, so we recommend responding within approximately 1.5 pages or 500 to 700 words. And that's pretty typical, especially for these kind of like broader thematic essay types. It's also important to note that the ApplyTexas essays do matter. Essays matter a lot in admissions because they're the main way that admissions officers get to know you as a person. The rest of the application is mostly facts or stats on a page. So at a lot of selective schools, a lot of students will have similar GPA, test scores, extracurriculars. And so for an admissions reader, it's hard to kind of discern which student is a better fit for a school or what the student's personality is, right? And so that's where the essay and letters of recommendation and those personal parts of the application really matter. Essays, for one, really convey this more personal aspect of the applicant. Beyond just numbers, beyond numbers that are similar across a lot of applicants, the essays will vary. And the content of the essay, the uniqueness of the essay, all this matters in great detail. So it's something that you really want to kind of make sure stands out in your application. The ApplyTexas essay will be seen by virtually every Texas college that you apply to, whereas supplemental essays are only seen by one college at a time. So it's important that the essay you write for these schools are really strong, right? I guess similar to, say, the Common App. If you write a Common App prompt, it's going to go to every single school that you have under the Common App system. If you're writing an ApplyTexas essay, it's going to go to all the Texas schools. And then, for example, if you looked at UT Austin, this topic A essay, if you wanted to submit to all schools, you could, but the short answer responses is specific to UT Austin, right? So in that sense, the broader ApplyTexas essays matter a lot more because they're going to a lot of schools. You want to make sure that quality is really, really strong, right? So if you kind of mess that one up, it's going to mess up a lot of applications. But if you mess up a short answer question, it's only going to be specific to one school, and it won't affect the other applications to other schools. So what really does make a really strong ApplyTexas essay is the fact that it has to be deeply personal. Note that the single most important thing that your ApplyTexas essay has to achieve is winning over the admissions officer on a personal level. One, you want them to walk away from reading your essay as an advocate for your admissions. And two, at selective colleges, one or more admissions officers must advocate forcefully for you in a committee. So even for just those two reasons alone, it's very critical that you write a personal essay that strikes a chord with the admissions officer, so it'll help your selection into the university. Your essay also needs to reveal things about you that can't be learned just by reading your resume or transcript. Again, a lot of applicants will have similar GPA, test scores, extracurriculars as you, and they want to see something beyond that. They want to see thematic elements. They want to see what kind of motivates you. What are you passionate about? How do you respond emotionally and personally to various situations? That cannot be tangibly calculated in, I guess, statistics and GPA and test scores, stuff like that, right? And so what it really boils down to in making a deeply personal connection is it's much more about who you are than what you've done, right? So you can write plenty of things on your resume, but what do those things stand out to you? What are meaningful to you? You really can assess that through your essays. If you talk about it passionately, it'll come through that this is who you are, this is what you're passionate about, not really just what you've done, right? And so you're probably getting the trend now. You want the reader to feel your emotions as they read the essay and become invested in your positive outcome or journey. All right, let's explore how to create this personal connection. Your essay should definitely explore the following concepts and at least touch upon all three of these in some detail. So when you write your essay, hopefully, or if you've already written it, try to see if it touches upon these three things. So it's very specific to the ApplyTexas essay, Common App essay, really those big picture essays, the 500 or 700 word essays that go to a lot of different schools. Supplemental essays, not as much, because they're oftentimes more specific. They could be about your major of interest, school of interest, etc., right? So really personal connection, think of it for the big impactful essays, right? So a couple of questions to ask about yourself, reflect on in your essay to make sure you're touching upon these points. Excuse me. So you really want to talk about how you think about the world around you, both as something is happening and upon further reflection. So really, this is talking about how you interact with other people, what your perspective on the world is, and yeah. So we're trying to get a sense of how you interact with the world, what you see in the world, and that'll give the admissions officer a good kind of look into what kind of things influence, how do you perceive things outside of just classroom stuff, right? You also want to make sure you can demonstrate your core values. Don't just state them in the essay, but exemplify them in specific things that you've done, right? So it's easy to say, hey, I'm a leader, but in an essay, it's better to show that you're a leader by demonstrating maybe you were the head quarterback of a football team, or maybe you sold the most Girl Scout cookies as a Girl Scout troop, right? And maybe you were the pioneer of that movement. Right? And then third, how you respond emotionally to different situations and aspects of your background, both in the moment and over time. So it's not just about the perspective that you see in the world or how you see the world, it's also how you respond emotionally to the world. So do you respond to everything with a smile on your face? Or at times you get sad, but then sometimes you have to realize, hey, you have to bounce back and be, keep pushing forward despite things being hard, right? Okay, but essentially big picture idea is try to incorporate all three of these aspects into an essay And if you've already written your essay, make sure you have all 3 of these things. It's proven over time that these things will help strike this personal connection with the admissions officer, which, as we said before, is very essential. Some other hallmarks of a great application essay: avoid cliche or common topics. Admissions officers read thousands of essays per cycle, so if your topic is cliched or common, then your essay has to be stronger to stand out. So I can give an example of that, right? So let's say, okay, so say you're on a sports team or something. Oftentimes the most cliched kind of essays revolve around sports or music, just happens to be. But there's a way to make them unique, right? So say you're on a sports team and you write an essay about overcoming an injury, and then the next season you guys end up winning the championship, right? Okay, so you're on a sports team, say it's like a football team, again, football, and you get an injury, and then the next season you recover from your injury, your entire team wins the state championship. Okay, in some ways that's pretty cliche. I'm sure that happens to thousands of people, a lot of people, right? Especially in a high contact sport such as football. Okay, so you write a story about that. Problem is it's cliche, right? So how do we avoid that, right? We'll talk about how to avoid it in a little bit, but an example is maybe you reflect on how that injury impacted you as a sportsman, right? Or sportswoman. Essentially, what if you got hurt and then realized you couldn't play high contact sports anymore? So football was kind of not in your future, right? Then you took that energy, that drive to do something, and ended up pursuing dance instead. And you found that specifically ballet required the same footwork and balance required and coordination required of a football athlete. So from your injury, you discovered ballet and dancing, right? So that would make a way more unique story. So instead of talking about the old trope of getting injured and then the next is winning a football championship, you can instead write about getting injured and then finding a new passion for something else that stemmed from your old passion, right? Right. You also want to make sure you have well-written with strong grammar and high-quality writing, oftentimes very essential at selective colleges. Show strong flow and readability. Get someone else to read it if you can't judge this for yourself. And then make use of the full 650 words or 700 words, whatever kind of the limit is for the applications that you apply for.